Let's say you want to get the benefit of doing intermittent fasting, yet you also want to gain muscle. How would you do it? Well, there's several factors here. Sometimes people have this idea that they have to spike insulin to grow their muscles. So they're going to do carbo loading because, after all, if you stimulate carbohydrates, you'll trigger insulin, and insulin is an anabolic hormone. Makes sense, right? But in reality, when you stimulate insulin that much or too much, you create insulin resistance. And if you have insulin resistance, you can't absorb amino acids that well anymore. This is why a pre-diabetic or a diabetic or someone that has insulin resistance doesn't absorb protein or amino acids that well. So here you are trying to gain muscle mass, but all this glucose and this insulin is creating a resistance to that protein going in your body. There's this product called Serious Mass. And I have a picture of it right here, where you're supposed to take this product and bulk up, right? 2 scoops is 252 grams of carbohydrates. This is 2 scoops. And the first ingredient is maltodextrin, okay? This is way worse than sugar. It's way worse than high fructose corn syrup. It's like 110 on the glycemic index. So what's going to happen? You are going to bulk up, but you are going to bulk up with a lot of fat. This is going to spike your blood sugars and create a lot of complications. All right, let's talk about some other factors. I'm going to recommend you do 2 meals a day, okay, if you're trying to develop more muscle mass, not 1 meal a day, but 2 meals a day. And at the very minimum, do intermittent fasting 16 hours. So you're basically fasting for 16 hours and you have an 8-hour eating window. So let's say your first meal is at 10 in the morning and your next one is at 6. And you can do any pattern you want, but just starting out, this would be the very minimum to start seeing improvement, because we want to do intermittent fasting to spike growth hormone. But as you do it, you want to start increasing this more and more and more and more until you get to a point where this fasting is 21 hours and a 3-hour eating window if possible. We also have to make sure that there's enough calories in your meals too, because if your meals just don't have enough food, it's going to be really hard to grow muscle. So you're going to have to determine how many calories you need, but the average person will probably need somewhere around 1,500 calories per meal or a little bit more. All right, the next thing that's really important is exercise volume. Exercising enough, using heavy weights, really working your body to the point where you are getting sore and you're creating change. All right, number 3, carbohydrates. Maybe you want to keep your carbs on the high end, but not go over 50 grams. Well, depending on your age, let's say you're younger, maybe you do 60 grams, maybe even 70 grams, but don't go any higher than that. That way we get the benefits of ketones. So you're consuming enough carbs to keep normal insulin. So when you do a low carb diet in intermittent fasting, we're not bringing this down to 0. All we're doing is bring it to a normal range. So you're still going to have the anabolic effect of insulin, but you're just not going to have the insulin resistance. So as you do this, you're going to have the benefit of absorbing these amino acids too. So that brings us to number 4, having a complete protein. Branch chain amino acids are not complete. You cannot build muscle protein with just a partial profile of amino acids. You need the most complete protein. And the best protein out there would be the egg protein, okay? Fish is good. There's other types of essential amino acid blends, especially when you're taking them with the fasting, just to really make sure 100% that you're not actually losing any muscle at all. But that being said, if you're fasting 16 hours up to 21 hours, you're not going to be losing any muscle. And also make sure you have enough amino acids. So 6 to 8 ounces per meal. Depending on your age, if you're a little younger and you're more active, maybe you do 9 ounces per meal. Now, nutrients. You don't just build muscle with protein. You need other nutrients, calcium, B vitamins, magnesium, vitamin D, potassium. Very necessary, and this is why you want to do the healthy version of keto. Some other factors that can slow you down is having high cortisol. That's the stress hormone. And that can come from not sleeping. So sleeping increases growth hormone, and cortisol inhibits growth hormone. So this is one way to really create a loss of muscle mass. And this is one problem with women going through menopause, is the adrenals are backing up the ovaries, and there's a spike in cortisol, And a lot of times they have a loss of muscle, and it looks like fat, but it's atrophy. So cortisol is very, very destructive on your muscles. So you want to keep your stress as low as possible. Now, if you're doing prolonged fasting, I wouldn't go past 72 hours if you're trying to maintain your muscle mass. Not that it's going to be a problem, but if you're new to this, if you go too long and you don't have enough reserve built up, it could create a little loss of muscle. All right, guys, there you have it. These are the factors to help you maintain and even grow more muscle mass when you're doing intermittent fasting. If you're new to my channel, check out this video on intermittent fasting. It will give you everything you need to know about how to do it healthily.